top and talk about this segment.
Thank you, Adawali. I know you guys have heard too much of me, so I'm not going to take too long of your time. But as usual, Assalamu alaikum, Namaste, Sat Sri Akal, Julelal, greetings. And I wish I could welcome you in the languages of our hosts, the native people here. That is, I apologize for not being able to do that. I promise you I'll learn, and next time when we get together, I will welcome you all in your languages also. So I'm going to start with a verse from the poet or the messenger of Sindh, Shah Latif. So Shah Sai Jadota Mu Sati De Sadra Sati Sadinadeen Wali Je Vatan Me Todan Tawareen Heda Hanya Teen Bure Na Habor. So just to translate, Shah Latif was the poet saint of Sindh, where we come from. And he talks about the fact that he says, when I call out to my companions, I don't hear back any sort of from their voices. And he says that their camels have left our villages. And this is the atrocities have reached a limit which is unbearable. Which is true for most of the indigenous people all around the world. And, you know, especially in the post-colonial period, with the expansion of the European dominance, there were a lot of indigenous people in the world who lost their homelands. They are in their homes, but they live as foreigners in their own land. And there cannot be anything more tragic than to live as a foreigner in your own home. And that is the common shared tragedy of a lot of human beings, and that's what connects us with you. That is the reason we're here. The good news is that lately, in the last few decades, even the United Nations has now started to accept the rights of indigenous people and local communities. So before we go, and I'm not the expert, I'm going to listen to you and all of you and learn from you. So just to introduce the topic, indigenous people and local communities are kind of vaguely defined as people who come from an area of the land where their ancestors have always lived, but now they have been converted into a minority in their own land. And so what are the rights of an indigenous people? The indigenous people's rights include the right to live on their own land, right to live freely, right to live without fear, right to their environment, rights to their heritage, their language, and the right to preserve their history. Every human beings, these are basic needs and desires of every human being. To be able to be treated as an equal citizen, not as relegated to the status of a second or third class citizen. So we all have to now rise above our narrow interests and work at it together. You know, there's a famous saying that they say when they come for somebody else, and if you don't stand up for them, then when they come for you, nobody will stand up with you. So we have, all the indigenous people in the world have to come together and stand up for our rights, stand up for our right to live with dignity in our own homeland, to be able to preserve our language, to be able to preserve our history, our heritage, our culture. And the worst part that is happening where we come from especially, is that if you talk about the river, that the Indus Valley civilization, which is a 5,000-year-old civilization, is always dependent on the river Indus, one of the mightiest rivers in the world. I was there 6 months back. When you drive over the bridge, now there's no water, all you see is sand. And if the river dies, not only the marine life that lives in the river dies, not only the fauna and the flora that depend on the river die, the human beings also die with the river. The civilization dies with it. The people die with it. And we cannot let that happen. And that is the reason we're here. That is the main purpose of this function. Thank you very much for joining us. Let's join hands and let's serve, let's save our motherland, let's save our Mother Earth. That's what this is all about. Thank you.